I gotta be careful to talk about today. Very sensitive topic. Thought crime, misogynistic, racist, or it will get worse, a lot worse. Shit hits the fan. Dystopian future, people fighting over resources. You can't just escape those situations. Everybody is afraid today. Post something on social media and they lock you away. You can't do shit. It's crazy to think that the movies I watched as a kid, from the 90s, 80s, I'm a 90s kid, I was born 88. Those movies about a dystopian future, with the dirty Los Angeles, destroyed, with people fighting over resources, everyone dirty and it's dangerous, and you have people robbing each other and all kinds of stuff. It's crazy to think that this is our reality today, and it's actually happening. And it's happening not only somewhere in the United States, it's happening in Europe right now, where you have, people in Britain getting stabbed and robbed in broad daylight. At the same time, you have people that can't express themselves. Everybody is afraid today to speak their minds because you might get canceled or this or that. Especially you combine those things. And I realize that now when it's my turn to be an adult, that those times were so safe, so great, and everything that was perceived as fiction and those fantasies about the future, and people, I think intuitively thought, how that can't happen. It's funny to think about the future in a dark way, but it's actually how it played out. It's more crucial than ever before about the things that you do. Even 40, 50 years ago, of course, a lot of it depended on how you build your life and what systems do you put in place. But today it's even more important. And there was a time, probably of our dads, granddads, where you could work in a factory and you could afford a house and you can, get back home, afford a nice car or even multiple cars, live a decent life. Today, that scenario is gone. Maybe it's still around in the United States, but it's getting worse day by day. I cannot speak about the States because I was not raised in the States, but I was raised in Germany. And I was born in Siberia, raised in Germany. I went to school in Germany. I was conditioned from a very early age that, education is everything. You have to get one education, then the second education. You have to find a good job and a good company, this and that, social security, blah, 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 blah. And now you have a lot of people in Germany that went through, this whole frame, step by step, and having a good job and a good company. Even they struggle to put food on the table and live a decent life, at least a life that their parents or grandparents lived in Germany, where there was a golden age in Germany. And on top of that, there's a bunch of other problems that I gotta be careful to talk about today on YouTube, because it's a very sensitive topic and I don't want to commit thought crime here, because it's actually dangerous to talk about that today. But we all know what's going on. That's another funny thing. Everyone is aware of what's going on in Europe and the United States, but you gotta be careful what you say, in order to be not misogynistic, racist, or whatever bullshit words they come around with, to label you as something while you're just speaking out what everybody thinks. You have an alien culture that is poured into your countries, watering down everything that is left of those great cultures and great countries. On one hand, I'm a person today that could say, I don't give a fuck. I'm not even living in Europe. Couldn't care less what's going on in the States and in Europe. But then those countries influence everything else that is going on in the world vastly. 2022, just a couple of years ago, I was living in Russia. And I was speaking about that on other videos on my channel. And I had to leave the country, pack my bag because the war took off. And it took off mostly because you have chaos going on in the United States. And it could have played out differently. I didn't see it coming. There was a lot of those experts today who said, it was clear that this with the Ukraine happened. No, that was not that clear to me. A lot of people in Ukraine didn't, even a day before, didn't believe that it would happen. But it happened. And the last couple of years, so many things happened that I didn't believe could happen in the first place. I couldn't even think that this could be the reality that we're living in today. But it is. And today, I understand that you are, solely responsible for how the rest of your life, or whatever we have left, you, me, everyone else, plays out for us. Do you have the funds? Do you have the opportunity to move somewhere where you're way out? I'm staying at this place right now where a single woman, a young woman with the children even, or something like that, can run around at 3, 4 a.m. in the morning at night and nobody will touch her. She won't have any problems. And most of the men running around here won't let that happen. Don't want to sound delusional or something like that, but I can't even imagine that, someone will grab a child here or something like that and do some shit like that is going on in other countries, and people let it happen because it's a different reality here. And mostly because there are still systems in place in society that will prevent this to happen. And it's wild to me that you don't have this in other countries in Europe no more. And that you in your own countries, as a representative, born in your own country, can't do the most basic things no more. As defending yourself, speaking out, and freedom of speech and shit. It's just wild to me, but it's happening. And the more it goes on with every day, I believe it will get worse, a lot worse. You know, when I made posts something like that, you know, Dark Times account, oh no, bro, they're already here. No. You know, if people won't wake up, and I don't see any objective reasons why they will wake up tomorrow or something like that. I mean, from all what I've seen every day, it's still some time until that happens, and it will get worse a lot. I don't want to be, you know, super dramatic here or negative or something like that. I'm just speaking my mind. Well, that's still possible on YouTube in some way, in some degree. A lot of it depends on you. I was lucky enough and fortunate enough because I turned remotely, working remotely, having money that allowed me to leave the country, work from wherever I want, and I was not glued to a office job, to some cubicle or some factory site or something like that. Other people, you know, to be then drafted to the Russian army and sent to some ditch in Ukraine. So because I had the opportunity to do so, other people didn't have that. We can go on and you know, back and forth, or whether whose fault is that you didn't put systems in place. Of course, there are cases where people have, you know, parents or grandparents or children, or I don't know, even disabled people at home, and they can't just leave, you know, pack their bag and da-da-da-da. But also a lot of young people are just, I don't know, smoking some weed, playing video games, not caring about much, and then, you know, shit hits the fan. I mean, whose fault is it that you didn't prepare? Now, more than ever, I understand that anything might happen. I'm living in a mode now where I understand any day of any week, any given time, I might, again, pack my bag, put my laptop in, and leave this country and move to another one. And I have the opportunity, and I'm prepared for it. I'm just saying, if all the stuff's going on, especially now, I'm recording this video on the 30th of October, right for the elections in the United States. At some degree, it doesn't really matter who wins, Kamala, Trump, somebody else, somebody, you know, playing in the background, something like that. We, on the other hand, have so many opportunities today. Make some money online, put systems in place, and to travel around, still leave the country. Now, I'm coming from a reality where people today cannot leave their country. A lot of people in Russia can't leave the country right now. They can't. A lot of people in Ukraine, maybe they would want to, but they can't leave. If you have those opportunities, and not just like as a passport bro to find some Thai wife or something like that on the other end of the planet, but to actually be able to escape all the degeneracy, dangerous situations. Because at that point, you know, I see a lot of those alpha, sigma, male kind of guys. You have to do kickboxing and Thai boxing and prepare and this and that because, you know, London gets a dangerous place. You can't do shit if a bunch of dudes jumping out of the car, 5 dudes with machetes and knives, say, well, what are you going to do with fucking Thai boxing or something like that? Doesn't matter. You can't do shit. You know, you can't just escape those situations. If you and your family, just an example, are sipping on your pineapple drink somewhere in Bali, working remotely on your laptop, you know, while this shit is happening to, you know, in London, 2 people, or in any other place of the world, I don't know, Los Angeles or something like that, or in Russia, then you don't get in those situations. That's the simple thing. The best way to win a fight is to avoid the fight. And this is some of the first things that my trainer, when I was back, you know, I did for a long time combat sports when I was younger. And I started with Taekwondo when I was 6 years old, or 7, I believe, 6, 7. My father brought me there. And then up to the age of, I don't know, maybe 18, I was doing this Taekwondo, kickboxing, all kinds of stuff. And one of the very first things my trainer, my coach, taught me was the best thing outside of the gym to win a fight is to avoid it. You don't get engaged in this shit unless it's super important or you have no other way or something like that. And I believe it's the same thing about life today. You know, the world is getting a more dangerous place day by day. Should you go voting? Yes. Should you care about your country? Should you fight for a country? I'm not here to teach anyone how to live their lives. I could have stayed in Russia and, you know, went on the street, you know, at some moments. But then there was a turning point where, you know, everything was off and they were putting people away, even for a fucking post. The same shit is going on right now in Europe. All crime. You might post something on social media and they lock you away. Is that the place or the reality you want to live in? I don't. You can argue both ways. You can go on the street and fight for your rights. If you were alone in this game, you won't get far. There are crucial moments in history where a lot of people go on the streets. This is something where I might argue, yeah, you could probably participate in that. While I'm saying that, I'm thinking, I'm just considering whether, that is also some radical stuff or something like that. I'm just speaking my mind. But in all other cases, best thing you can do is just to escape it. So give it a thought. I mean, there's a reason why there is this term of passport bros. When guys figured out that it's easier for them, not for everyone, for them, find a wife on the other end of the planet than to escape other bullshit problems, that might be an option too. So next question is how to pull it off. Well, that is something you might figure out for yourself. There's a lot of things you can do today on the internet, from content creation to dropshipping to crypto. There's a lot of stuff. It takes a little bit of effort and brains, but is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it. Because if I kept working as a translator like I did years ago in Russia, in some factory or a cubicle office or something like that, I would be stuck when shit hit the fan in 2022 in February and I couldn't leave, and I would have come up with a quick solution. It was more chaotic. Well, for me, it was pretty smooth. Yeah, I had to leave things, my private life, my business before that. I had also there and car and apartments and all kinds of stuff. But this is just secondary. When it's really getting hot and the question is, about the security of you, yourself, your life, then you have to take quick action. And this is one of the things that's very important for me today. How fast, like in this movie Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, when heat is around the corner, we have 30, 60 seconds. Might not be a lifestyle for everyone, but today that is mine. I can be going in 30, 60 seconds. Can you? Do you want to? That's the thing you have to figure out for yourself.